This is Dr. Greg Gary coming to you to talk about why gold, why now. And you'll notice that the opening slide has got urgent stickers all over the cover. That's because we are in a time in history where in the realm of economics things are urgent and you need to understand what's going on in order to know what to do. I want to give you a quick history on money. In the beginning, people used gold and silver coins to trade, and eventually banks rose up and you could take that gold in, the bank would give you a bank note, but as you went out to purchase, in this case a cow, you could take that bank note back to the bank and immediately your gold coins would be redeemed. Well, various countries around the world had something called the reserve currency. That was the master currency used around the world to which all other currencies were attached. At the end of the Second World War, because America had the greatest amount of gold in the world, they decided in Breton, New Hampshire, that the US dollar would be the reserve currency of the world. Why? It was backed by gold, and now all the other currencies were pegged to that dollar as well. Well, in 1971, Mr. Nixon took that dollar off the gold standard, temporarily he said, but it was actually permanent. And indeed, all the currencies of the world went off that gold standard. Now, when a nation goes off a gold standard, it allows them to print, and that's what USA had been doing, and that's what they continued to do. And that's what causes inflation. If you look at this pictograph, the US $1 bill lost 96% of its value since 1913. Here's another picture of, took 200 years for $825 billion to be printed, to come into circulation. But in a single year, in the bank bailouts, that number jumped significantly. It went vertical. Then we had QE1 and QE2. And the United States is not the only nation. Canada had the same thing happen. Since 1971, lost 95% of its value. And of course, that red line is the money supply, the printing of money. Canada's first Prime Minister said this: "The issuance of credit and currency is the state's most precious resource. Once a nation gives up control of its currency, it matters not who makes the laws, because usury, once in control, will wreak havoc on any nation." And then we had Ronald Reagan say, in essence, the same thing. He quoted Alan Greenspan: "In the absence of the gold standard, there's no way to protect savings from confiscation of wealth. There's no safe store of value. Deficit spending is simply a scheme for the confiscation of wealth." Well, here is what's going on around the world. We call it currency wars. It's not just the USA printing. It's Canada, it's China, it's India, it's Australia, it's Russia, it's Singapore. Folks, everybody is printing, and it causes great damage. Here's a very famous slide, what happened in Zimbabwe. Zimbabwe was once on par with the US dollar, but they got into printing issues and hyperinflation, and 100 billion Zimbabwe dollars to buy 3 eggs. It got completely out of control. Well, inflation is here, and it's real. Look at these price increases from 1980 to the present. Bread from 50 cents up to $5. Homes, the average person in North America used to be able to afford a 3-bedroom bungalow. Now it's all pushing $1 million. Same with milk. We could do a whole basket of goods in this regard. 250% to 1,000% range. But here's the most important question you need to ask yourself and others. Did your income go up on average 675% over the past few decades? Most people, as I speak in audiences around the world, shake their heads. No, it certainly did not. Well, let's take a snapshot of what's going on out there in the economy. Chinese gold imports rise 48%. Now, why is China hoarding gold? As the People's Economist, I often just bring reports and summaries of what's going on with the world, and I let you figure it out. Here's another slide. The IMF agrees to include China's RMB in benchmark SDR currency basket. Here's another sign right out of China. RMB, new choice, new world currency. You figure it out. Here's from Mike Maloney, and I encourage you to watch Mike Maloney's videos, by the way, called The Hidden Secrets of Money. He calls this nails in the coffin of the US dollar. Now, we've got a lot of repatriation going on. Germany wanted their gold back from USA. Even inside USA, Texas wants their own gold back for their own state. Here's another headline. The G20 got together in early 2016, and I pointed out one line. Germany objects to calls for coordinated increase in spending. That's the printing of money. I juxtapose that headline with the sweeping of German Reichsmarks back in the early 1900s, just after World War I. Here's another slide. U.S. government published audited financial statements. Look closely at this. You'll see that the net worth of the USA is negative 18 trillion. And also inside the assets, 37% of the government's total reported assets are student loans. Are you kidding me? Here's another slide. Inflation actually near 10%. That's CNBC. Another slide. If there's no inflation, why are prices up so much? That's from Time magazine. And I could print 100 of these headlines, and they're all saying the same thing. So what do we think is coming? Here is a collection of curves, graphs from Mike Maloney, and they're all pointing to a downturn in 2016. Here's Bo Polney. He's a cycle analyst, and he's been extremely accurate these past 3 years, hitting on major highs and major lows to the day. Here's another one of his graphs from a 777 cycle. Again, he calls 2016 will be a complete meltdown. Well, let's go back into history a little bit here and look at fiat currencies. What's fiat currency? That's the currency not backed by gold. And these are all modern, considered modern countries with inflation rates that absolutely exploded. But how easily we forget, because we are now in a fiat currency ourselves. We also saw big trouble in Greece these past 2 years. Well, speaking of Greece, Canadian banking outlook downgraded over bail-in move. Well, what's bail-ins? Bail-in is the government, the G20 have agreed that the governments are no longer going to bail out banks. When banks are in trouble, they will turn some of your currency into shares and actually confiscate your money. That's right. You're now called an unsecured lender to the bank. Well, Howard Olson made up a interesting slide one day. He says he looked up what the meaning of fiat, and it is currency not backed by anything tangible. It's money printed from thin air. It's money because I said so. It has no tangible value. According to a study of 775 fiat currencies, there is no historical precedence for a fiat currency that has succeeded in holding its value. Well, what option do we have? What about gold? Let's talk about gold here for a minute. Here's what you need to know about gold. Gold holds its buying power. Back when Jesus Christ was roaming the earth and someone wanted to buy one of those beautiful Roman togas, it cost about an ounce of gold. And we can prove this historically. Same in the 1960s and same today. Gold's hovering around 1,200 US an ounce. And you can go down to the States, get a very nice suit, shoes, hat, etc. for about that amount of money. Now we can do that with houses. We can show that with cars. 1965, 50 ounces of gold, nice Mustang, costs the same today. You see, gold holds its buying power. We need to understand that. That's why it's called a hedge against inflation. Here's a very interesting announcement from a bank. Deutsche Bank says, get gold. That was in early 2016. Here's a slide that shows, listen, the numbers don't lie. Okay, gold has risen in value 4,300% since 1932. In fact, if you'd put $100,000 of cash into gold back then, it would be worth $4.5 million against cash to this day. This next slide I love because it talks about saving cash. So this individual saved from 1992 to 2012, $72,000 based on $300 a month. But folks, the problem was the purchasing power ended up being only $56,000 for a $16,000 loss. Whereas with gold, if you'd saved it in gold, you would be significantly more ahead. Now, here's a graph in the last 3 years of how much gold has gone up. Only 17%. That's actually not a lot for what's coming, but compared to the Russian ruble, Mexican peso, South African rand, and we could list off another 100 nations. Gold has gone up. The only one it hasn't gone up with is the US dollar, but that's coming. Who's saying to get 15 to 20% of your assets into gold, into precious metals? All these experts. Marco Byrne out of Ireland, Peter Daniels out of Australia, Eric Sprott out of Canada, Mike Maloney out of USA, Peter Schiff, and on it goes. Robert Kiyosaki, everybody knows that individual. They're all saying 15 to 20%. Now, do you know what they're saying now? They're saying get more. Now, I'm not a stockbroker. I'm not a financial analyst. I'm not a one that advises on stocks. I'm one who goes out and reports on what other people are saying around the world. So here is a slide that shows a gold vending machine. That's right, a gold vending machine. These are found in Dubai and Singapore, across Europe, and I believe we're going to be seeing more of these out on the streets. Well, here's the problem with getting gold, or at least the perceived problem that people have had in the past. You see, we've been involved in the fiat currency system for so long, we've forgotten what real money is. Gold is expensive, isn't it? Gold's inaccessible. How do I get it? Where do I find it? How do I prove it's not counterfeit? And it's difficult to use. What do I do with it when I get it? Well, along comes this incredible visionary company called Karatbars. What does Karatbars do? They are helping average citizens get 1 gram, 2.5 gram, 5 gram, and now 1/10 of a gram cards and bills. And what exactly is Karatbars doing? Well, they're helping people exchange cash or fiat currency, or cash is trash, as Tom Barrett says, for real money. That's what we're doing. We're doing it in over 120 nations now. And now that you've got the real money, if you happen to need cash, you can very easily turn it back. If you've got the gold, you can very easily turn it back into cash. Well, Karatbars Gold is very unique. It's not very unique. It's the best in the world, actually. It's 999.9 pure grade gold. It's LBMA certified. That's called good delivery gold. It's affordable, it's accessible, and most importantly, it's transaction friendly. Using gold in smaller amounts is going to make it easy for you in the coming years. Well, let's address those questions. Gold is expensive, isn't it? Well, here's what you ought to know. Losing your value in your currency to inflation, that's expensive. Now, with Karatbars, you can simply buy it by the gram. That makes it more affordable to you. Or you could engage in Karatbars' business system, where you can actually get your gold subsidized and even paid for. How expensive is free gold? Well, gold is accessible. Well, no, it's not. Not now. You can simply pop online. You can get a free account. That's right, a free account. And simply do that exchange online. The gold is stored in a vault in Germany, and you can have it sent for whenever you want. This is called securitized gold, or Karatbars gold. It is a chip of gold embedded in a card, covered with a high-grade plastic, stamped, LBMA stamped, with a serial number, and now we've even got the DNA blacklight technology to authenticate it. This is no ordinary gold. Is gold difficult to use? Well, no. You can barter with it. You can take Karatbars gold and turn it in at your local gold shop. But most importantly and most excitingly, you can now use Karatbars gold at K exchanges around the world. That's right. There are stores rapidly rising up around the world whereby you can walk in and buy your running shoes or buy your groceries. And this is going to be, I believe, the thing that will stand Karatbars above all else around the world. And wouldn't it be great if you were one of those stores yourself? Well, what if we could show you a way to acquire 999.9 bullion gold, subsidized and even free, through a system while you helped other people save gold? Would you be interested in hearing more? Well, if you do, go forth and watch the business side of what Karatbars is doing for people. Otherwise, I want to encourage you all, regardless if it's Karatbars or not, please understand what's going on in the economy. Please understand the difference between fiat currency and real money and go and do something about it. You can turn the greatest economic crisis the world has ever seen into your great opportunity by understanding what's really going on. I close with the same slide that this is a time of urgency. Understand why gold, understand why now, and consider Karatbars. Thank you very much.